I need to enter them. Let me just go ahead with what the articles are, what they speak to.
What's the next article?
Let me proceed. Data from Texas shows that U.S.-born Americans commit more rape
Pressley,
and murder than immigrants.
Listen, this trend of you all trying to get thrown out of committee so you can get on MSNBC is going to end. We're not going to put up with it.
This is my procedural right as a member of this committee
you can
to
go,
enter documents
you can go with
into the
Mr.
record.
Frost and Mr. Green.
I'm reclaiming my time.
That's what
do
you
not
want.
get to
No. Ms. Pressley, I've been very accommodating to you. Mr. Superjohn,
and I take particular umbrage as a survivor of sexual violence. I will enter into the record. This is my right. Thank you.
No. It is Mr. Subramaniam.
Mr. Chair?
No, you know the process of unanimous consent. You are not recognized.
I have several articles to enter into the record.
Mr. Subramaniam, if you don't go, we're going to recognize Mr. Timmons.
House Oversight Committee hearing on sanctuary cities went off the rails when James Comer did everything he could to keep Representative Ayanna Pressley from entering an article into the record that shows U.S.-born Americans commit more rape and murder than immigrants. He must have been uncomfortable with facts being put up against the repeated MAGA claim that all migrants are rapists, murderers, and drug dealers.
To touch on something, because I know that many of you prepared for today's hearing by making sure that you got a little bit of information about immigrants and crime in your cities. Let me ask each of the mayors, just yes or no, have any of you been made aware of any immigrant that has had 34 felony convictions that has still been able to roam around in your cities? Anyone?
No, ma'am.
34 felony convictions.
No, Congresswoman.
From the immigrants. Anybody?
I'm not aware.
Oh, okay. I'm just curious because we are so concerned about crime, and I know that my Republican colleagues would never want anybody with 34 felony convictions roaming around because that could be a danger to the community, but I will move on.
Representative Crockett's point regarding the fact that we don't blink about having a 34-time felon in the White House, but would never allow an immigrant with the same track record to roam the streets, it is well taken. But after the felonious president pardoned and released his gang of violent street thugs from their January 6th convictions, the Republicans have already proven that they don't actually care about crime.
The president is also explicitly asserting the authority to ignore any law passed by you, Congress, that provides due process for people accused of being in the country illegally. The administration has repeatedly misled you and the public about who it is targeting, stating it would focus on public safety threats, that only the worst of the worst would be sent to Guantanamo Bay, and that every person it had arrested had a criminal record. We now know that most ICE arrests since the inauguration have been of people without a criminal record. Indeed, he is arresting people who entered legally, never violated any law, and sending them to Guantanamo Bay prison.
You know, if more people had the chance to actually pay attention to the separation this party has from the facts and reality that gets exposed in these kinds of hearings, they wouldn't have the nerve to repeat them over and over again in conservative circles. It's why Comer didn't want Pressley to state the facts about rape and murder stats. They need to suppress the truth as much as possible.
What they are doing is not making America safer. In fact, it's a total and complete lie because Donald Trump has failed to actually even secure the border. He's failed to stop illicit drugs like fentanyl from crossing the border. He's failed to secure sufficient staffing and technology to stop human trafficking and illicit drugs from crossing the border. He's failed to support local law enforcement and behavioral health programs to address the issues that are affecting our communities. And he's failed to even execute on the most basic thing that he said he would do, which was to pass immigration reform when he got into office. Here we are, Donald Trump. Where's your immigration bill? Oh, wait, you don't have one.
No, to be fair, maybe the president has concepts of a plan because he and Elon's primary objective to dismantle the federal government for the sake of giving billionaires as much of our money as possible is also affecting their own immigration plan, which is simply mass deportations.
And millions of migrant deportations could be delayed because of the widespread federal layoffs. More than 100 immigration employees have either left or been fired since the inauguration. The Justice Department removed multiple judges from offices that oversee immigration courts as well.
Yeah, Diane, I mean, we're seeing somewhat of a contradictory stance, according to immigration officials.
by the Justice Department as they're making this really heavy push, obviously, to carry out President Trump's immigration agenda. And carrying out these mass deportations requires a lot of deportation hearings. And according to a count that was compiled by our team, roughly 43 immigration judges and 85 administrative staff that handle those deportation hearings have left or otherwise been fired or reassigned since President Trump's inauguration. This is a time when Justice Department officials are actually saying they need a surge of immigration judges and also prosecutors who are able to go to these court hearings, able to adjudicate these cases and carry out these deportations that President Trump and his team are demanding.
You know, these guys are so reckless with their mass firings, they couldn't even avoid getting rid of the offices and officials that would help them do it as quickly as they promised. But now that they've virtually eliminated their ability to conduct immigration hearings, it'll probably embolden them to break the law even more by violating people's due process, now that there are fewer judges in place. You know, it's a lawless agenda that scoffs at the opportunity to actually help make these cities safer by paying attention to American citizens' needs. You know, watch white nationalist Representative Paul Gosar's reaction to the Boston mayor, letting him know what would actually help her city.
Respectfully, Congressman, you could pass bipartisan legislation, and that would be comprehensive immigration law. The false narrative is that immigrants in general are criminals, or immigrants in general cause all sorts of danger and harm. That is actually what is undermining safety in our communities. If you wanted to make us safe, pass gun reforms. Stop cutting Medicaid. Stop cutting cancer research. Stop cutting funds for veterans. That is what will make our city safe.
It was like the truth was inflicting painful blows to his soul. Or maybe it was the thought of paying attention to the needs of a society that would lessen the amount of violent crime or death that always goes down. It's weird that we've allowed these hateful politicians to completely flip the idea of democratic representation on its head to mean that the people conform to the goals and sacrifice their own lives for the prosperity of these elected officials. Gosar couldn't take it anymore, while others like Rick Scott have decided to openly admit that everything they do is focused on collecting money from cutting programs that they vowed not to.
People are they're thinking the way that Ron is saying that, you know, you can't cut. And that's all great. Then you're not worried about any program you care about, because Medicare is going bankrupt, Social Security is going bankrupt. You know, inflation can't go away, interest rates can't come down. So my belief is it's all going to. We're going to have to do this. Are we going to do it this year, or are we going to do it next year?